Happy Eid Mubarak to my Muslim brothers and sisters out there. Good morning to you all, and I'm so excited and grateful to be here with you this morning. And I trust you are all pumped up and ready for the New York session. So let's get this session started. If you can see my screen and you can hear my voice clearly, kindly type in hi in the comment section so that I can get a positive feedback that we are good to go this morning. So I like to see some feedbacks. So if you can see my screen and you can hear my voice clearly, please type in hi in the comment section and let's get this started. So I would like to see some comments. Hold on a second. Let's see what we have here. Sorry, I'm trying to load up my comment section. I will be with you in a moment. Okay, let's see what we have here. All right, good. Okay, so what do we have here? Okay, 7794. Thank you very much. Thank you for confirming that. Okay, 477 says he's new and he wants to learn. Okay, you're welcome. Nikki 74 4114 Nest 57. Good morning. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Hey, Steamroller, how are you doing this morning? Thank you very, very much. I'm very grateful for that. And it's been a while since I saw you, Steamroller. Trust you are doing very well. All right. Okay. 9390. Good morning to you. Thank you very much. Oh, Eunice. Good morning to you, Eunice. How are you doing this morning? Glad to have you around. Trust you are doing very well. Slovak is asking that is GBP, can we sell? Well, we are going to be looking at the GBPUSD today since it's part of our watch list for this week. So we are definitely going to be deliberating on that. So Slovak, I implore that you stay tuned in so that you don't miss out on that session, okay? Hello, Oluwafemi. Is this the Oluwafemi I know of last year? If you are, let me know in the comment section. Good morning to you. If you are the one, I'm very, very glad to have you around after such a very long time. Steamroller, thank you very much. I see your comment. All right. So I think we are on a very positive start to today's session. And I'm so excited to welcome you all to yet another promising session where we shall be evaluating the financial market for the next 1 hour. My name is Sheriff Daramola, and as usual, I'm going to be your host for the next 1 hour, where we shall be looking at the financial market from a comprehensive price action based technical analysis. So we are going to be reviewing and managing our existing positions while we also position ourselves strategically for the New York session today. Let's get this started. Thank you very much, guys. And for those who are joining us for the first time, you are highly welcome. And what we simply do here is to come together as a community, gathering in anticipation of both the New York, in anticipation of the New York session. And during this time, we are going to be reviewing and managing our current positions, while we also aim to position ourselves strategically for today's trading session. So we do this on a daily basis, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time. And though because you're starting with us for the first time, it might look a little bit overwhelming, but I assure you that with time, the more time you spend with us, you will eventually be able to use the information you have gathered here to make your independent decisions on your own account. So once again, you're welcome. So with that being said here, let's dive right into the business for today. And you know how we do it in this community. The first thing we want to be doing is to keep tabs with the fundamental aspect of the market. As you all know, these fundamental factors often manifest on the chart in technical patterns and price movement. And by monitoring the economic calendar, we can easily identify potential correlations between key economic releases and specific technical patterns, hereby helping us to position ourselves in such a way that we can catch any potential trading opportunity prior to the event, during, and even after the event. So for today, Wednesday, June 28, we have a handful of high impact events. Remember, we are looking forward to the panel at the ECB forum on central banking, which is going on in Sinatra today. And we are going to be seeing a handful of representative of the central banks to speak today, which obviously everyone will be looking forward to. We have the first chairman is going to be speaking in about 2 hours from now. We also have the Bank of England Governor Baylis is going to be speaking to in about 2 hours. Then Ueda too is going to be speaking. That is the Bank of Japan's governor. And then President Lagarde too is going to be speaking to as well. Then later on today, we are going to be having the bank stress test info. This is a result released by the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System, and it normally presents a result of a bank stress test for the largest U.S. banking organizations, and the test is conducted to determine their reaction to different financial situation. So this is another very high impact event that will give us an insight into the health situation of the banking sector, and at the same time gives us a further clue into the sustainable economic growth of the United Kingdom. A high reading here is seen as bullish, while anything bearish, a lower is seen as bearish on this one. So we shall be looking forward to what the bank stress data is going to be coming up with. And this is going to be coming up in about, I think, 8 to 9 hours from now. So we want to anticipate that one too as well. And we are also going to be taking all these events into consideration while we review the current market structure based from a technical standpoint. So with the information we have gathered here on the economic calendar, let's dive right into the business for today. Now, as usual, the first commodity we are going to be taking today is the US oil spot. Now, on the US oil spot, we have been quite profitable in the last 24 hours, where we had a very beautiful selling opportunity that presented itself right below the $69.50 level. So I would like us to quickly run through what our expectations were at the beginning of the week. What did we see on this chart, 1 hour chart, that made us to consider selling the US oil spot? So right here at the beginning of the week, the first thing we observed was how price action was initially caught within a range just between the $70 level and of course the $69 area, to give us an insight into the level of indecision in this particular market. And in fact, one of the things we normally do whenever we have this kind of simple flat channel is to wait patiently for a setup, for a signal to happen, which normally comes either in the form of a breakout of the resistance line to give us an opportunity to buy, or a breakdown of the support line to give us an opportunity to sell. Then in addition to this range that we had here was this trend line, which was identified after the connection of the series of higher lows here to give us a trend line to work with for this week. And you know how we use our trend lines in this situation. We agreed on Monday that if price action continues to trade above the trend line, we'll look out for more opportunities to buy above the $70 area. But if price action at any point in time breaks down and retests the trend line, we all agreed that we are going to be getting ready to sell. And in fact, this was exactly what happened. Prior to our live session yesterday, we saw how price broke down, retested the trend line, and it was at this point we had our first sell position for the week. And in fact, we rode the move all the way to the downside, as during the live session yesterday, we were around here during the live session yesterday, and I told us all that for those who had missed out on that breakdown of the $69.50 level, we are going to be waiting for price action to either come back to retest structure at the $69.50 level, or the $69 area to give us an opportunity to join the trend continuation to the downside. And if you had marked your levels out, the $69 area here would have triggered a sell opportunity to push price to the downside. And since then, we saw how price action moved over 170 pips coupled with the first position we had. So we were able to scoop close to about 300 pips on the US All Spot for this week, which is not a bad start to the week. And for those who have been part of this profitable journey so far, well done to you for being on standby to have caught this opportunity. Now, if you are still in a sell position right now, it is quite appropriate that you move all stop losses to secure your current position at this point. Personally, I'm already out of this trade as I had an opportunity to sell below the $67.55 level as at this point here, and I also sold at the breakdown of this trend line this morning, and since then I moved my stop losses and I have been taken out of that position. So once again, well done to everyone who has been part of this trade. And if you still have a sell position running, I think it's appropriate that you close your position right now, and let's see how we are going to be getting ready for today's trading session. So with that being said, let's dive into what is really going on in this market at this particular point in time and how we intend to maximize our trading opportunity today. And well, before I go into the details here, I would like us to scale a little bit into a higher time frame where we want to look at things from an holistic point of view. And most importantly, I want to refresh our memories as regards to the setup we identified on the higher time frame, which is going to be a major factor in determining how we are going to be positioning ourselves ahead of the New York session. Now, right on the 4 hours time frame, if you remember vividly, if you have been with us here since Monday, you will notice that on the 4 hours time frame, we were able to identify a simple setup which took into consideration the activity of price action since the beginning of this month. And one thing we saw here at the beginning of the week was how price action has been ranging between the $73.50 level and the $67.50 area since the beginning of this month, which further gives us an insight into the level of indecision in this market. As you can see, as soon as buyers got into that area around the $73.50 zone, we saw how sellers jumped in to negate all bullish attempts to break through that level. The same thing also happened around the $67.50 level. As you can see, since the beginning of this month, we have seen how sellers have been finding it difficult to break through this structure. The first attempt came in here at the beginning of the month. We saw how buyers negated the sellers' pressure. We saw the same thing happen here during the second week of this month, and during the course of the previous week, we saw how price action came in and rejected that area with a strong hammer candle, which from a technical standpoint is a sign that buyers are still very present at this juncture. And if you look at what happened yesterday following, despite the strong bearish engulfing candle, as you can see here, bringing price back into that demand zone, we saw another level of buying pressure around this area, which further emphasized the strength of the buyers at this particular point. Now, you would agree with me that we are at a critical point in the market right now where price action is currently finding a consolidation phase between the $68.20 level and the $67.55 area, just right above or within that demand zone identified at the $67.50 zone. Now, with the situation we have here, and for the fact that price action is sitting on a very strong demand zone, it is quite reasonable that we look out for buying opportunity at this point, as the demand is very, very high when price gets into the $67.50 level. And if we begin to see structures on the lower time frame that supports the idea of buying, then definitely we want to be getting ready to buy. So these are one of the things we are going to be looking at when we scale down into the lower time frame. Then another thing that I would like to buttress here is the potentials of sellers too as well. And for me at this particular juncture on the market, I would rather want to see price action take out the demand zone here, that is breaking through the $67.50 level to give me a signal that sellers are likely going to be pushing price further to the downside. And if this happened, coupled with a retest of structure, then we would have no other choice than to be part of a bearish move to the downside. So, but at this point in time, price action still remains above that demand zone, then it quite makes a whole lot of sense to look out for buying opportunities above this demand zone. Now, going into the New York session, we want to find out key structures that we are going to be using to guide our trading activities for today. And in order to do that, we are going to be scaling down into the 1 hour time frame, where I've been able to identify a simple setup that we are going to be using to manage our trades for today. Now, right here on the 1 hour time frame, so I will just zoom this in a little bit so that we can see things clearly. Now, if you look at what has been happening in this market since the last trading hours of the New York session yesterday, it is quite obvious that price action has been choppy, caught within a phase between the $68.20 level and the $67.55 area to emphasize the level of indecision at this particular point in time. And for the fact that we are anticipating the speeches from the major representative of the central banks across the main economics in the world, we might likely be seeing a sign that participants in the market are looking forward to a catalyst or a comment that will send some signal that will bring volatility or liquidity into the market to drive price movement. So with the situation here, with the flat channel we've identified here, you know how we do it. Whenever we have this kind of flat channel, we want to wait patiently for new structures to mature, give us a signal in the form of either a breakout of the resistance line for an opportunity to buy, or the breakdown of the support line for an opportunity to sell. Now, with the situation we have here, I told you I had a sell position. I took advantage of this move before I was taken out with a modest size of profit after seeing this impulsive move to the downside. And one thing we acknowledge on the 4 hours time frame is how we saw a sharp rejection of the zone, leading into something that looks like an engulfing bullish candle, revealing that buyers are still present around this area. So with this situation we have here, personally I had a buy stop order above the $68.20 level, where I am hoping that the move will continue to the upside. So at this point in time, above the $68.20 level seems most appropriate to look out for buying opportunities in this particular market. Then, in order to make things a little bit easy for us to manage this trade if price action continues to the upside, have been able to identify a trend line that we can use to guide our trading activity for today. And this was as a result of connecting the series of higher lows. As you can see here, we can see we had a couple of higher lows here in the last 12 to 15 hours or so, giving me an idea that we might be seeing a bullish momentum at this point. So I would like to emphasize this trend line by giving it a 2 pixel so that we can emphasize its importance at this particular point in time. So what this simply means is that as long as price action remains above this trend line, we shall feel comfortable in our buy position, while we also look out for more opportunity to maximize the potential of this move. So anywhere above this trend line, so we have a key level now. You want to mark these levels out on your chart. As long as price action remains above this trend line, we feel comfortable in a buy position. And we also have a key level at the $68.20 level, where it shares a beautiful confluence. So let's see how price action plays out. Anywhere above the structures is what we are looking for to buy the US All Spot for today. Now, if price action continues to the upside, I think we still have the privilege of maximizing the potential of this bullish momentum as we have key structures. Remember, don't forget that we have the $69 area here, which was initially our support line at the beginning of the week, where we were seeing buying pressure around that area. So it's more of a buyer's territory at this point before the breakdown retest happened here. So if price action continues to the upside here, then a breakout retest will definitely give us more opportunity to maximize the bullish move to the upside. And if price action goes on to break out of our key level at the $69.50 level and the $70 area, we'll definitely be having more opportunity to add more position to this trade. So let's see how price action plays out. As long as price remains above the trend line and the $68.20 level, we hold on to a bullish bias in this particular market. So that is what we are going to be looking at to buy the US All Spot for today. Now, you know how we do it in this community. In as much as we're looking out for a particular buyers in this market, we also want to keep tabs with the potentials of the sellers too as well. And considering the fact that since the beginning of this week, this market has been more of selling, what are we going to be seeing on this chart that will make us change our bias from bullish to bearish? Well, at this particular point in time, I remember I told you of how we are sitting on a very strong demand zone, just right within that $67.50 area, a very strong demand zone, as you can see, which I shared with you on the daily time, on the 4 hours time frame. Personally, for me to consider selling the US All Spot today, I would rather want to see price action break through that demand zone at some point, continued selling pressure below the structure here before considering joining a bearish move to the downside. So if we are going to be selling the US All Spot for today, we are not going to be doing that unless we have a breakdown, retest at least of that $67.50 area to join that momentum to the downside. So we want to mark these levels out and then wait out and see how price action will be playing out in the next couple of hours. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section as regards to what I just explained so far. And I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to read through the charts and see if there are any questions before moving on to the next instrument. And also, you could use that time to mark out these levels on your chart or probably screenshot my screen so that you can use it as a reference point when you're about to make your independent decision on the US All Spot. So it's question time. If you have questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section. Okay, I can see Dino. Good morning. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Aki88, good morning to you. Glad to have you around. I accept your flowers. Thank you. Okay, 4114. I see your comment. Thank you. 6422 wants us to talk about the XAUUSD. That's the silver. All right, though it's not in our watch list for this week, but I will try and do something. Let's see if we can quickly finish with this session. And if we can do that, I'll try to squeeze that into our plans for today. So I just hope you stay tuned in and be part of the session till the end of the session when I will be attending to it. And I will ask for your presence before I can dive into that silver for you. So please stay tuned in, okay? Okay, 2643, it's important to know that what? I'm not sure I understand what you mean by that. Your sentence isn't complete. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we're on the same page here. So we shall be moving on to the next instrument on our watch list for this week, which happens to be the USTech100. So on the USTech100, another profitable 24 hours is what we have here on this chart. As you can see here, we had the, okay, let's look at how the week started for us on the USTech100 before we go into the details of what our expectations are for today. So at the beginning of the week, we remember we had this key level situated at the $15,000 mark, a very, very strong psychological level considering the round figure of that price. And since the beginning of the week, it is quite obvious that price action has been trading below our weekly key level. And what this simply means is that we will continue to look out for selling opportunities as price action remains below that structure. Then in addition to that one was this flat channel we saw here, where price action was initially ranging between the 14,945 before it expanded into that 15,000 area and the 14,800 level to give us a flat channel to work with. And you know how we do it. Whenever we have this kind of simple flat channel, we want to wait patiently for signals to come, either in the form of a breakout of the resistance line for buying opportunity or the breakdown of the support line for selling opportunities. And before our live session on Monday, we already acknowledged the breakdown of the support line here, which was a signal that we might likely be seeing a bearish momentum for the week. And I told us all that we are going to be looking forward to price action coming back to retest structure before joining the bearish move to the downside. And in addition to this flat channel was this descending trend line we identified at the beginning of the week after connecting the series of lower highs, as you can see here. So we had a trend line which we said price staying below the trend line will give us the confidence to be part of a bearish move. But if a breakout happens, retest of structure, we shall be looking out for opportunities to buy. Though we had a breakout happen here on Monday during the New York session, but we had a retest, and if you are taking advantage of that one, price moved significantly well. And if you had moved your stop loss like we always do when price action moves significant in our favor, you would have been taken out at a worst case scenario break even. But if you are taken out in a loss, you will definitely have recouped that loss, as we saw how price action did a final breakdown of the 14,890 to give us our first sell position for the week. And remember, we had a level at the 14,800 where we said we are going to be adding more position if price action ever breaks down that structure. And in fact, for the first half of the week, we were already profitable, as the first position here gave us about 200 pips, while the second position, if you are taking advantage of it, gave us about 120 pips. So as at the first couple of days for the week, we already had about over 300 pips in profit on the USTech100. Then during the second day, we acknowledged this situation here where price action, after testing the 14,700 area, we begin to see buy pressure resume around that area. And in fact, this led into a situation here where price action continued to find higher lows. And what I said here yesterday is that we are going to be using this trend line to guide our trading activity for yesterday's trading session. And one thing we said here is that the only thing that will make us sell the USTech100 is to see price action either respect the trend line, break down this bullish trend line, then we look out for selling pressure below structure to join a bearish move to the downside, which of course never happened in this market. But instead, we started seeing continued buy pressure around the 14,750 zone, and we know we had a buy stop order sitting above the 14,800, where we agreed that if price action breaks out of the trend line, then at that point it will be a sign that the trend line may no longer have the capacity to negate the bullish attempt anymore. So if you are taking advantage of the buy position at the 14,800, we saw how price action moved over 170 pips in our favor before we begin to see this whole selling pressure consolidation phase that is leading into a situation right now where price action is likely doing a retracement of that impulsive move we witnessed yesterday. So at this point in time, for those who took advantage of all of these opportunities, well done to you for being on standby to have caught that move. However, if you still have a buy position running at this point, you know how we do it in this community. You want to be moving your stop losses right now to secure the current buy position. And if we are going to be giving room for price action to breed, we want to be having our stop loss sitting anywhere between the 14,850 and the 14,810 to secure this current buy position while we wait and see if this is going to be inciting the second leg of the bullish momentum that started yesterday. Now, with a position well secured at this point, what is going to be our next line of action for today? Now, going into the New York session today, remember we had a range at the beginning of the week where the $14,890 level was serving as our support line at the beginning of the week before we saw the breakdown of the structure happen and then we saw the second breakdown to inside that bearish move. So at this particular point in time, we want to see how price action will be reacting to the zone to determine what our next line of action will be. Now, if we continue to see buy pressure above or around the 14,890, we might likely be getting ready for another wave of bullish momentum where the breakout of the $15,000 mark, which happens to be our weekly key level, will incite more opportunities to maximize this bullish move. Now, how do we position ourselves for this? If you look at following the impulsive move we witnessed yesterday, you will see that price action climbing to the upside here. It dropped into the 14,860. We have seen how sellers have been struggling around this area to continue to the downside, giving me a clear sign that buyers are gradually gaining momentum around this area. We could finally see something like a reversal pattern in the form of a double bottom structure, which would incite another wave of bullish momentum. So we are going to be identifying the neckline of the structure. You know, whenever we identify the potential of price action transitioning into a reversal pattern like a double bottom structure, the next thing we want to be doing is to identify the neckline of that structure to guide and validate the potency of this reversal pattern. So we have our neckline situated here, falling exactly along the 14,910 level, which we are going to be waiting for price to break out of the structure to join the trend continuation to the upside. So you want to mark these levels out on your chart, and let me do that right now for the sake of those who would want to screenshot my screen. So we have the 14,910. So this is where we are going to be looking out for buying opportunity today with the attempt of doing the trend continuation to the upside. Then we also have the support line of this range here, sitting at along the 14,850, which you can see here. Okay, so right at the bottom and side of our screen. So we already have a range where so our center of focus for today is going to be within this range between the 14,910 and the 14,850. So right now price action is very indecisive, as participants at this point are still very unsure of what will be going on later today. So we're still within a range right now, which might still go on for quite a while before a breakout of the structure happen. And as you all know, in this community, whenever we have this kind of simple setup, we want to wait patiently for either a breakout of that area for an opportunity to buy, or the breakdown of this area for an opportunity to sell. And for the fact that price action still remains below our key level, and since the beginning of the week we have been seeing huge bearish traction in this market, it's quite reasonable to consider an opportunity below the 14,850 to sell the USTech100 today. So we shall be having a sell stop order below the 14,850, where we shall be looking out for opportunity to sell. So don't forget that we have also had an opportunity above the 14,910. So this is where our center of focus will be for today. So let's keep this in mind, mark these levels out, and let's wait and see where price action will be breaking out of to give us a sense of direction for the New York session today. So mark these levels out and let's see how price action will play out going forward. If you have any questions whatsoever as regards to what I just discussed now, feel free to let me know in the comment section, and I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions, and at the same time give you time to mark these levels out, and also probably screenshot my screen if you want to, so that you can use it as a reference point when you're about to make your independent decision. Eunice84 is asking for USDJPY. Of course, USDJPY is on our watch list for this week, and we are going to be treating that. Please stay tuned in. Galian, good morning to you. How are you doing today? I think that's the first time I'm hearing that name in this community. Are you new, Galian? Let me know in the comment section. All right, so 5728. Okay, thank you for checking in on us. Good morning to you too. All right, everyone. So in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we're on the same page. So we shall be moving on to the next instrument on our watch list, which is the GBP USD. So on the GBP USD, in fact, we have a very interesting market structure here on this 1 hour time frame. And in fact, I had a couple of stop losses on this one. I had some losses on this one this week, a couple of them, I think. I had a buy here, price action took us out at that point. And I think we had a sell position here and price action took us out at this point too as well. But in fact, in the last 24 hours, we've been able to recoup some of these losses so far. Let's run through how the week started for us here. So if you look at the week here, since the week started, we can see how price action has been within a range, consolidating between the 1.27500 and the 1.2700 level, which happens to be our key level for this week. And whenever we see this kind of consolidation phase, it just gives us a sign that the market is still struggling to make a decision on where price action may likely go for the week. But in the last 24 hours, something interesting has been happening in this market, which is giving me a clue of where we might likely be going for the second half of this week. And that is the fact that despite the fact we have been seeing higher lows, which gave us a bullish trend line to work with for this week. Remember, at the beginning of the week, we said as long as price remains above this trend line, we'll feel comfortable buying and look out for buying opportunities. But if price action at any point in time breaks down the trend line, then at that point we are going to be looking out for selling opportunities. But something here around the 1.275 caught my attention this morning, and that is the continued selling pressure around this area. As you can see, the nature of those wicks tells us that sellers are very strong around that area. And this led to a final breakdown of this level at the 1.274, then went ahead to break down, retest this trend line that we identified at the beginning of the week to give us an opportunity to sell. So it has been more of selling the GBPUSD since the beginning of today, as you can see here, and price action has been dropping to the downside. And in fact, we saw a little breakdown of that key level situated at the 1.2700 area, which for me is a sign that shows that the sellers in this market still have the strength and momentum to continue to the downside. Now, so we've been selling since this morning, and for those who took advantage of this opportunity, well done to you for being on standby to catch this move. And you all know how we do it in this community. When price action moves significantly well in our favor, we of course want to be moving our stop losses to secure the current sell position. And from the look of things right here, I'm of the opinion that we want to be moving our stop loss to anywhere around that 1.27350 and the 1.27250, so that we can give room for price action to breathe. So move your stop loss, secure this current position, as there's still a chance that price could still come back and retest the structure to incite another wave to the downside. Now, for those who had missed out on this opportunity, let's remain patient at this juncture and wait and see if the market will be giving us more opportunities. Now, what are we going to be looking out for to join a trend continuation to the downside based on this current market structure? Well, the first thing I would do here is to take into consideration what has been going on since yesterday evening. And as you can see, we have lower highs here. So I would want to connect the lower highs here so that I can use this as a yardstick to guide our trading activity for today. So mark this level out on your chart. So what this simply means is that as long as price action remains below the trend line, we will feel comfortable in our sell position. So let me do some adjustment here so that I can capture majority of these wicks, as you can see. So We are not going to be getting cajoled with this buy pressure we are noticing around the 1.27, as it could turn out to be a retracement of this impulsive move where price could come back into the trend line, do some couple of retests of that structure to incite a trend continuation to the downside. So because of this idea in mind, I'm going to be having a self-stop order below the 1.2700 level to capture more opportunities in this market. And if it does happen that price action climbs up back into the trend line or retests the 1.27250, and I scale down to my lower time frame to see selling pressure, in fact, we want to see signs that buyers are finding it difficult to climb above the trend line and stay there. And if we see that, we could have a sell stop order below the 1.271, join the move, and the stop top below the 1.27 will further maximize the potential of this bearish move to the downside. So on the GBPUSD for today, we remain bearish. We continue to look out for selling opportunities. And for those who are already in the sell position right now, I've told us all to move our stop losses to secure the current sell position. So while we've secured our position and waiting out for more opportunities here, we cannot ignore the potentials of buyers too as well. And you know how we do it in this community. Even though we have a bias figured out, we also want to ensure that we check out the potentials that the buyers do have in this market. And if we consider the importance of the 1.2700 area, which we identified at the beginning of the week, and we agreed that we are going to be using this level as our key level for the week, we should not ignore the potentials of buyers. You can see how this level, since it was broken here on the second week of this month, you will see how sellers have been finding it difficult to break through that structure, which is more or less a clear sign that buyers are very strong around this area. So as a result of this, I don't want us to ignore the potentials of buyers at this point. So in as much as we are looking out for selling opportunities, what do we want to see on this chart that will negate the idea of selling and make us to start considering buying the GBPUSD? Well, for me at this particular point in time, since we already have a trend line here which has been supporting the bearish momentum since the beginning of this week, I'm of the opinion that a breakout of this trend line will definitely give us an opportunity to buy. So if a breakout of this trend line happens anytime today and climbs to the upside, we are not going to be getting excited to buy right away. So we are not having a buy stop order in this case scenario. Instead, we are going to remain patient for confirmations to happen before we join any move on the GBPUSD. So what we are going to be looking out for here is after the breakout of the trend line happens, we just scale down into our lower time frame. It could be your 15, 10 minutes or your 5 minutes time frame to look out for price action retesting the trend line with continued buy pressure above the structure for us to start considering buying the GBPUSD. So if this does not happen, well, we continue to look out for selling opportunities in this market. So that is how we are going to be managing our position on the GBPUSD today. So let's mark these levels out on our chart and let's see how price action will play out in the build up to the ECB summit coming up in Sinatra today. So let's see what happens, and I hope you'll be on standby to catch this move. So I will be giving the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions, and also use that time to mark these levels out on your chart. And if you want to, screenshot my screen so that you can use it as a reference point when you're about to make your independent decisions on your account. So I'll be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions before we move on to the next instrument. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I hope you've marked these levels out and you've already screenshotted the screen if you want to. So on that note, I will just move on to the next instrument on our watch list, which is the XAUUSD. The XAUUSD is the gold spot, and we have been enjoying some profitable movements on this instrument since the beginning of the week. In fact, we have been selling the XAUUSD so far so good. Well, at the beginning of the week, we were able to spot our price action has been ranging actually. Initially, it was a range between the $1,928.50 level and the $1,922 zone. And this was a simple flat channel for us to work with. As you all know, we always wait for price action to either break out or break down of the channel for an opportunity to trade. And in fact, I told you all on Monday that I had a sell position at the breakout of the 1,928, where price action moved about, I think about 40 pips thereabouts. After moving my stop losses to break even, I got taken out at break even here. And this led into a situation where price was unable to break the previous high, giving us lower highs in this market. And on Tuesday, I told us here that considering the fact that we had a peak here at around the 1,934, and the inability of price action to break above the previous high, for me, was a sign that we might likely be seeing a bearish momentum to the downside. Then in addition to this observation we had here, remember, we also had a bullish trend line after connecting the series of higher lows at the beginning of the week. And remember, we said we are going to be using this as our yardstick, that if price action remains above the trend line, we'll be looking out for buying opportunity. But if it breaks down the trend line, then we will have no other choice than to be looking out for selling opportunities. Now, if you saw what happened here during the New York session on Monday, we saw the breakdown of the trend line. As you can see, price action came back to retest the trend line to give us confirmation that sellers are still strong, and coupled with the continued selling pressure around that $1,928.50 level, it was a clear sign that sellers are going to be dictating the pace for this week. And with a sell position around that area, we had a sell position triggered, and since Tuesday, we have been selling this commodity. And since then, price action has moved over 213 pips in profit at this point. And for those who held on to their position till this present moment, well done to you for being on standby to have caught this opportunity. Now that we are going into the New Year session today, what is going to be our plans? Well, first of all, I would like to say this here. For those who also have a sell position running at this point, you definitely want to be moving your stop losses to secure this current position. And from the look of this current structure here, I will be suggesting that anywhere around the 1,916 and the 1,913 area seems most appropriate to secure this current position. So you want to move your stop loss to anywhere around that area. Of course, we want to give room for price action to breed around this area. Now, with the situation we had here, remember we had the 1,910 level identified yesterday, where we said if price action breaks down, retest the structure, we definitely want to be maximizing the potential of this bearish move by adding more position to our existing trade. And if you are taking advantage of that one too, as you can see, price action has broken down, retested the level, and in fact, it is currently running with about 34 pips in profit at this point. So it is quite a very profitable week for us on the XAUUSD so far this week. So we are going to continue to monitor price action in the bearish perspective. So at this point in time, ensure all stop losses is moved. And for this current breakdown of the 1,910 level, I will be advising you to move your stop loss anywhere around or above the 1,910. As you all know, we want to give room for price action to breed, just in case price will still come back and retest that structure to incite a trend continuation to the downside. So at this point in time, what is going to be our plans for today? Well, we still hold on to a bearish bias. There's nothing more to say here. And for those who had missed out on this opportunity, let's say this latest one, well, let's remain patient and wait for new structures to mature. As you all know, when price action breaks down a key significant level like this, we expect that one point in time, price is likely going to come back and retest it to incite another wave to the downside. And if that happens, then we want to position ourselves around the 1,910 if we continue to see certain pressure there on our lower time frame to join that bearish move to the downside. So let's keep this in mind. Let's continue to monitor price action and let's see how it will transition from this point. Then another thing that could happen here is if price does not come back to retest the 1,910 level, we could still see something like price doing a consolidation phase around here, maybe something like going up and down for a while, mark those levels out, the resistance level and the support level, then it will turn out to be a trend continuation pattern if the breakdown of the support line happens, where we want to be having a sell stop to join a trend continuation to the downside. So that is how we are going to be looking out for selling opportunities on the XAUUSD today. So let's keep on holding on to a bearish bias at this point as long as price remain below the 1,910. However, in as much as we're looking out for selling pressure here, we cannot ignore the potentials of bias. Now, if we look at the structure closely, you will see how, okay, let's scale up into the 4 hours time frame. I think there is something there I would like to show you all so that we can all have a better idea of what is going on here. Now, if you look at the 4 hours time frame, this is what we saw at the beginning of the week. You see we have couples of trend lines which further emphasize the strength of the sellers at this particular point in time. And in fact, we went to as far back as the beginning of the month of May to acknowledge this bearish trend line that you can see on your screen. So it's more of a bearish momentum actually, but if buyers are going to be coming in at this point, I would rather see price break out of the 1,916 level. Let me show you quickly. So I'm back to the 1 hour time frame. So this is what I'm looking at here. If I'm going to be buying this one, I want to be positioning myself above the 1,916, taking out all the sell positions here. And in fact, we are not going to be having a buy stop. Instead, we are going to wait for a breakout to happen. So if price breaks out of the 1,916, we want to see some confirmations like a retest of structure where continued buy pressure resumes above that area. That is signs that sellers are finding it difficult to drop back below the 1,916. Then at that point, we want to be getting ready to buy. But I doubt if this is going to be happening. I doubt it. I doubt a buy on this one. But if it does happen, we want to get ready to join it as the market tells us to do. So that is how we are going to be trading the XAUUSD today. So let's keep this in mind. Let's continue to monitor price action. Mark these levels out on your chart and take some time out to screenshot the screen if you want to, so that you can use it as a reference point to guide your trading activity today. So I'll be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are going to be any questions on the XAUUSD before we go in to treat the last instrument for today. So any questions, please let me know in the comment section. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I guess I want to assume we're on the same page. So I will just move into the last instrument, which is the USDJPY. Okay, Susie MB, good morning. I think I saw your comments earlier, so you're just trying to say hello once again. All right. Okay, I see your thumbs up, Steamroller. I will take that as a compliment. Thank you very much. And so we shall, okay, Amin, oil, we treated oil earlier. I treated oil earlier, so I'm not sure you are part of that session. Okay, so moving into the USDJPY, which is going to be the last instrument for today. And on the USDJPY, we continue to enjoy a bullish momentum here since yesterday, remember. So we shall run through what we saw here at the beginning of the week. On the USDJPY too, I think I had a loss. No. Okay, no, not at all. No losses here yet. So we saw how price action was ranging at the beginning of the week, just right below our weekly key level. And that was between the 143.750 level and the 143.250. And with this kind of situation, you of course know what we look out for whenever price action falls into this kind of range. And you see, we wait for breakout, retest, or breakdown, retest of structure to join any potential move. And during the live session on, was it not Tuesday morning, I told us, okay, on Monday morning, I told us here, okay, during the live session on Monday, we were around here. We were exactly around here on Monday live session. And I told us that with the continued rejection of this weak candle, it's more like a sign that buyers are likely going to be pushing price to the upside. And to help us position ourselves for the buy opportunity, remember we identified a key level here, had a 143.450 level, and we said if price breaks out, retests that structure, we are going to be buying the USDJPY. And look at what happened. We saw price breakout, retest the structure. We had a stop loss sitting somewhere below the 143.250, and at no point in time did we see price action take us out of that position. And since then, price action had continued to find higher highs in this particular market. Then, in addition to this situation we had here yesterday, during our live session yesterday, I told us again that we could still have the privilege of joining at the breakout of the 143.750, which has already happened to as well. And since then, price action has been trading above that level. Then we also had the higher low structure identified. This was the lowest point price action was at the beginning of the week. We also had higher lows here. We had higher lows here. We had another higher low during the New York session yesterday to further emphasize that price action is climbing higher. And in fact, as a result of this, we have a trend line identified and then giving us a vehicle to drive this momentum to the upside. So at this point, you know how we use our trend lines in this community, especially when we have an ascending trend line like this. We have no other choice than to continue to look out for buying opportunities as long as price action remain above that trend line. Then we also had our key level at the beginning of the week, which was at the 143.900, and coupled with the trend line, price remains above the key level. So we definitely want to be in a buy position as long as price action remains above both of these structures. So at this point, we have a buy position running. And for those who have been buying since the last couple of days now, well done to you for being on standby to capture this opportunity. So the next thing you want to be doing right now is to move all stop losses to secure this current buy position. And for me, at this particular point in time, I will be suggesting that you move all stop losses to somewhere around the key level situated at the 143.900. Let's lock in this position right now and at the same time give room for price action to breathe, as we might likely see anything happen here. We cannot ignore the possibility that sellers could still drop price to the downside. And one of the reasons why I have said here that we should lock in the profit at this point is simply because of the way sellers have been taking over the buy pressure around that 144.150 since the beginning of this week. Now you can see we saw what happened here on Tuesday, New York session. We saw sharp rejections, and during the early hours of today, we saw sharp rejection at the same area. So it's a clear sign that sellers are trying to negate the bullish momentum in this market. So we want to be very, very careful at this point. So moving your stop loss at this point in time is very, very reasonable. Let's secure this position and wait and see if the bullish momentum will continue. And in fact, I want to be adding more position if price action breaks out, retest the structure to join another wave of bullish momentum. Now, I want us to understand this very clearly. We are not having a buy stop order above the 144.150, not at all. What we are going to be doing here is to see a breakout happen, because we have been seeing selling pressure around this area for quite a while now, and it is very necessary that we wait for confirmations to confirm that the sellers have been taken out at this point. And that will only reflect on the chart as a breakout. First of all, scale down to your lower time frame, look out for retest of structure and signs that buyers are pushing price to the upside and that sellers are finding it difficult to drop back below the 144.150 before we join that move to the upside. So this is the only way we are going to be looking out for buying for more opportunities to add more position to our existing trade. So let's keep this in mind. Let's continue to monitor price action from this current structure. And then if we are looking at the USDJPY from the fundamental aspect, I'm of the opinion that the dollar might likely increase. And one of the things I think could be at the issue, the reason is simply because of UEDA's policy, that is the Bank of Japan's policy, who has decided not to increase interest rate to curtail the inflation in the economy. And the reason why this is simply because of it wants to boost the export business in Japan, because the lower the value, the more people want to buy their goods and services, hereby bringing some liquidity into the market. And because of this intention not to increase the interest rate, the margin between the Japanese yen and other currencies of other economies who are increasing interest rate to curtail the inflation is now increasing over the time. And because it's increasing, majority will want to invest in a currency that has much more value, like the US dollar as against the Japanese yen, where they will have a better yield or return on that commodity. And that is why I'm seeing the US dollar continue to increase across this area. But I still think the Japanese economy will want to, the central bank in Japan will want to come in to affect this by probably pumping in to buy the yen to increase the value at this point. And if that is going to be the case, we might likely be seeing price action break down the trend line at some point to give us a sign that price might likely be going to the downside. So if it so happens that price drops and breaks through the 143.900, which is our key level for the week, then we will be looking out for selling opportunity at a continued appearance of selling pressure below the structure to the downside. So I wouldn't be considered selling the USDJPY unless a breakdown retest of the 143.900 level happens. So this is how we are going to be monitoring the USDJPY for today. I hope I made myself clear. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to let me know in the comment section, and trust me, I am here and willing to be of help in that regard. So let's see if there are any questions whatsoever. So I'll be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions, and probably we'll call it a day here. Oh, I remember someone was asking for XAUUSD earlier, 46422. Are you still around 46422? Let me know in the comment section. If you're still around, I will be attending to you in a moment. But if you are not, then we shall just call it a day right here. So I will be giving the next 10-20 seconds thereabout to see if 4622 is still around. Is it 4622? Oh, I hope I didn't mix that up. Let me see. Okay, 46422. All right. Okay, thank you. You're welcome, Ines. I'm grateful that I was able to make things a little bit easy for you to manage your trades today. And Steamroller, thank you for the compliments. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Do have a wonderful day at work today. Are you at work? Let me know. Hello, Vincent. Good afternoon to you. It's afternoon here. We just passed noon by 8 minutes now. Oh, holidays. All right. All right. Do have a wonderful holidays. Oh, well done. Well done. Well done, well done. All right, guys. Thank you very much for the compliments. And I think 4622 is not around. So on that note, I will just be drawing the curtain for today. And I wish you best of luck during the New Year session. And for those who are joining us for the first time, I hope you are able to gain one or two things from what we discussed today. And trust me, the more time you spend with us, the better you become in be able to use the information you have gathered here to make your independent decision on your account. So on this note, I wish you best of luck, and I look forward to seeing you same time tomorrow, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time, as we come here again to review how well the instrument we have been monitoring so far has been doing, and at the same time get highlights of what happened during the ECB summit today, and at the same time get ready for the New York session tomorrow as well. My name remains Sheriff Daramola, and I wish you the best of luck today. Do have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye-bye.